Chosen one. This is not a random video, and this is not a moment you arrived at by chance. Heaven itself has aligned this encounter, ordering your steps and drawing your spirit here at this precise time. There is a reason your heart feels alert right now, a reason something within you is paying attention. God does not interrupt lives without intention, and today is a divine appointment marked by perfect timing. Anointed one, hear this clearly. You are standing at the edge of a supernatural correction. What you have called a money problem has never been a permanent sentence. It has been a system waiting to be adjusted by God's wisdom and authority. Scripture reminds us that God gives power to create wealth, and when heaven decides it is time, no delay, no history, and no limitation can stand in the way. As it is written in Habakkuk chapter 2 verse 3, the vision may seem delayed, but at the appointed time it will speak, and it will not lie. Chosen one. The struggle you faced was not punishment, it was preparation. The resistance was not rejection, it was protection. God has been working beneath the surface, reshaping what needed to be fixed before increase could be trusted to your hands. If you feel a stirring, an urgency, or a quiet expectation rising in your spirit, that is confirmation. Stay present, stay open, and if your spirit bears witness, subscribe now and type 777 in the comments as an act of alignment. What heaven is about to reveal is meant to shift everything. Chosen one, hear this with clarity and reverence. Your financial life has never been governed by luck, by background, or by the hands you were dealt. What you are experiencing now is the visible echo of an invisible agreement that was formed within you long before money ever touched your hands. I say this not from theory, but from lived experience. There was a season when I worked harder than everyone around me, stayed up later, sacrificed more, and still watched doors remain closed. It was confusing, it was humbling, and it forced me to confront a truth that heaven was patiently waiting for me to see. Money does not respond to effort first, it responds to alignment. Anointed one. God is not correcting your bank account today. He is correcting the inner pattern that money must pass through. What you accept as true about provision, what you silently expect when you think about wealth, what images rise in your mind when opportunity approaches, these are not small things. They are the blueprint. Scripture tells us that as a man thinks in his heart, so is he. Not as he wishes, not as he speaks publicly, but as he believes quietly, consistently, and without resistance. This is why two people can stand in the same environment with the same opportunities and experience completely different outcomes. One is aligned internally, the other is divided within. Chosen one. This message is not about forcing results or striving in fear. I have lived that cycle, and it only leads to exhaustion. Heaven does not bless strain. Heaven blesses order. When your inner world comes into divine order, the outer world has no choice but to respond. This is not superstition. This is spiritual law meeting psychological truth. God designed the mind as a creative instrument, not a passive container. Every thought you hold with emotion, every image you return to repeatedly, every belief you allow to settle into your subconscious becomes an instruction. And the subconscious does not argue, it builds. There was a moment in my own journey when I realized I had been praying for increase while rehearsing fear. I was asking God for expansion while imagining collapse. My words said faith, but my inner pictures told a different story. And heaven in its mercy did not give me what I was asking for, because what I was carrying inside could not sustain it. That is when I understood delay is often protection. God withholds not to punish, but to preserve. He fixes the foundation before he adds weight to the structure. Chosen one. Your problem about money can be fixed because it is not a curse. It is a pattern, and patterns can be rewritten. The world you see around you, your finances, your opportunities, your results, is not separate from the world within you. It is a mirror. When fear dominates the inner world, the outer world confirms fear. When scarcity rules within behavior, quietly reinforces scarcity. But when clarity, confidence, and expectation take root, something shifts. You begin noticing openings you once ignored. You make decisions without hesitation. You move with a calm authority that others can feel, and opportunities begin moving toward you without resistance. This is where many misunderstand the process. Some believe thought alone replaces action. Others believe action alone produces wealth. Both are incomplete. Thought is the cause. Action is the channel. Results are the effect. When the cause is weak or conflicted, action becomes scattered and exhausting. I have lived that: too busy days, full schedules, constant motion and little progress. But when the cause becomes clear and consistent, action changes its quality. It becomes purposeful. It becomes aligned, and results follow without strain. This is why effort alone does not determine prosperity. Consciousness does. Anointed one, you are not controlled by your environment. You are controlled by the ideas you accept as true. The moment those ideas change, the environment begins rearranging itself accordingly. This is not mystical language, it is observable reality. When your inner agreement with money shifts, your behavior shifts. When your behavior shifts, your outcomes shift. Nothing in your financial world can change until the inner blueprint changes first. Wishing does not impress the subconscious. Repeating words without conviction does nothing. But when a new idea becomes your dominant belief, when it becomes the expectation you return to naturally, your entire mental atmosphere changes. And when the atmosphere changes, conditions must eventually follow. Chosen one, ask yourself honestly, not with judgment, but with courage, what do I truly believe about money? Do I see abundance as natural or as rare? Do I expect progress or disappointment? Do I secretly believe wealth is for others, but not for me? These answers are not accusations, they are revelations, and revelation is the first step toward correction. God never fixes what you refuse to see, but the moment you see it, heaven moves. There was a time when I believed money always came with stress, sacrifice, and loss of peace. And without realizing it, I avoided opportunities that could have elevated me because they threatened that belief. My subconscious was protecting an identity it thought was safe. When that belief changed, my actions changed. I stopped resisting growth. I stopped sabotaging momentum, and doors opened that had been there all along. This is why wealth is not first a financial condition, it is a subconscious identity. Chosen one, when your inner state aligns with heaven's design, you stop fighting the world outside and begin refining the world within. You stop blaming circumstances and begin shaping them. You stop waiting for change and begin causing it. This is the first step, and it is the most important one. Wealth is created in the mind before it is created in the world. Everything else builds on this foundation. And right now, God is inviting you to examine the foundation, not with fear, but with hope, because what He reveals, He is ready to fix. Chosen one. Once you understand that heaven works from the inside outward, a deeper truth begins to surface. God did not design your mind to be a passive place where thoughts wander without consequence. He designed it as a creative instrument, a sacred workshop, where ideas are formed, tested, and released into the world through your actions. This is why Scripture speaks so often about renewing the mind. Renewal is not about positive slogans. It is about reassigning authority. Whoever governs your thoughts governs your outcomes. Anointed One. Most people underestimate their minds because they have never been taught how powerful they truly are. They believe thoughts are random, emotional, and unreliable. But God does nothing without order. The mind shapes perception, perception shapes decisions, and decisions shape results. This is not coincidence, it is sequence. I learned this the hard way during a season when opportunities kept appearing, but I hesitated every time. On the surface, it looked like wisdom. In truth, it was an inner belief, quietly whispering that success was risky and loss was inevitable. My actions were obedient to that belief, not to my prayers. Chosen One. You never act in contradiction to what you truly believe. If you believe opportunities are rare, you will overlook them. If you believe success is fragile, you will move cautiously and miss timing. If you believe wealth belongs to others, you will unconsciously step aside when it approaches you. But when God begins correcting your inner agreement, something shifts. You start thinking deliberately. You begin choosing thoughts the way a craftsman chooses tools, carefully and with respect for what they will produce. This is what it means when it is said that all power is within, not power to control others, but power to govern yourself. I remember a moment when I stopped reacting to pressure and started pausing before decisions. That pause changed everything. It allowed me to create my inner state before taking action. Calm replaced urgency. Clarity replaced confusion. And suddenly situations that once overwhelmed me no longer had authority over my emotions. This calm control is not weakness, it is mastery. It allows you to respond instead of react, to choose instead of drift. And this is where heaven begins entrusting you with more. Chosen One. The creative power of your mind expresses itself through 3 sacred channels. First, what you consistently think. Your habitual thoughts create the atmosphere of your life. A mind trained to expect obstacles will find them everywhere. A mind trained to look for solutions will begin seeing paths where others see walls. Second, what you emotionally accept as true. Emotion gives thought its strength. Fear-backed thoughts create contraction. Confidence-backed thoughts create expansion. Emotion is the language the subconscious understands most clearly. Third, what you imagine. This is where many struggle because imagination has been misunderstood. It is not fantasy, it is instruction. The pictures you hold in your mind are received by your subconscious as directions. When I constantly imagined things going wrong, I unknowingly guided my behavior toward outcomes that matched those images. When I began holding calm, realistic pictures of success, stability, and growth, my actions reorganized themselves without force. This is not magic, it is design. Chosen One. Your mind is always producing something. The only question is whether you are producing deliberately or by default. Most people live by default. They allow old fears, memories, and inherited beliefs to shape their thinking. And because they think the same way, every day their results repeat themselves. But the moment you begin thinking consciously, the moment you choose your thoughts with intention, you step into your God-given role as a creator. Riches do not start with effort. They start with a thought repeated until it becomes belief. When belief takes root, action changes naturally. You speak differently. You carry yourself differently. You make decisions from inner strength instead of fear. This is why some people appear to achieve more with less effort. Their minds are aligned. Their thoughts support their actions. Their beliefs support their behavior. They are not divided within themselves. Division drains power. Alignment multiplies it. Chosen one, understand this clearly. You do not become wealthy because of luck, chance, or circumstances. You become wealthy because your mind operates from a clear, deliberate direction, and your actions flow consistently from that place. This is the beginning of mastery, and mastery deepens when you understand the role of the subconscious mind. The conscious mind selects ideas, but the subconscious builds reality. It takes whatever you repeat with emotion and frequency and turns it into habits, expectations, and automatic responses. Most people try to change their lives through willpower alone. I tried that too. Forcing new behaviors on top of old beliefs is exhausting. Eventually, the old beliefs win, not because you are weak, but because the subconscious is stronger than conscious effort. When the two are in conflict, the subconscious always shapes your life. This is why repetition matters. The subconscious does not judge, it accepts. Whatever idea you impress upon it, it treats as truth and expresses through you. If you repeatedly tell yourself you never have enough, your subconscious organizes your behavior to confirm that belief. If you repeatedly expect difficulty, it prepares you for struggle. But if you build the belief that abundance is natural, that you are capable, and that money responds to wisdom and alignment, the subconscious adopts those convictions and begins guiding you differently. People often call this intuition or momentum. It is simply the subconscious doing its work. Chosen one wealth is a subconscious identity before it is a financial condition. If you feel unworthy, you will sabotage opportunity. If you believe money is difficult, your actions will mirror that belief. But when God corrects your inner identity, your behavior changes without force. You begin noticing new paths. You meet the right people at the right time. You make decisions with calm confidence. This is alignment, and alignment is more powerful than effort. When the subconscious accepts an idea, it becomes the controlling force of your life. You stop chasing wealth through strain and begin attracting it through order. This is why God is fixing your problem about money now. Not by dropping something external into your life, but by restoring alignment within you. When your inner world comes into agreement with heaven, your outer world must follow. Chosen one. When alignment has been restored in your thinking and the subconscious begins accepting a new identity, something subtle but powerful happens. Faith rises not as excitement, not as hype, but as quiet certainty. Faith is not shouting declarations or forcing belief. Faith is the calm knowing that what God has planted within you has a rightful place in your outer world. I remember when my faith shifted from hoping things would change to expecting that they would. The anxiety faded, the urgency dissolved, and with that change, my decisions became steadier, cleaner, and more precise. Anointed one faith is the emotional agreement that gives life to what your mind has already conceived. Without faith, even the clearest vision remains an idea. With faith, that same vision becomes a living force. This is why Scripture speaks of faith as substance. It is not imaginary, it is internal solidity. Faith aligns thought, emotion, and expectation into one direction. When these three agree, the subconscious accepts the instruction fully, and your actions begin expressing it without resistance. Many people misunderstand faith because they associate it with religion alone, but faith operates whether you acknowledge it or not. You have faith when you expect failure. You have faith when you expect struggle. You have faith when you expect disappointment. The question is not whether you have faith, but what direction your faith is pointed. I once realized that I had trained myself to expect things to fall apart right when they started going well. And every time they did, my subconscious recorded it as proof. That was faith working in the wrong direction. Chosen one, when faith is corrected, expectation changes. And when expectation changes, behavior follows. Faith produces calm expectation. You stop worrying about timing. You stop rushing outcomes. You stop panicking when evidence hasn't appeared yet. Faith steadies the mind. It allows you to persist without emotional turbulence. This is why people with true inner conviction can endure setbacks without losing direction. They are not shaken because their confidence is rooted within, not dependent on circumstances. Faith is not developed through force. You do not command yourself to believe. You build faith through repetition. The more often an idea is rehearsed with calm confidence, the more familiar it becomes. Familiarity becomes comfort. Comfort becomes belief. Belief becomes faith. This is why small, consistent internal practices are more powerful than dramatic moments of motivation. I have seen more transformation come from a few quiet minutes of clarity each day than from hours of emotional effort once in a while. When faith dissolves inner conflict, something remarkable happens. The mind unifies, doubt loses its grip, fear stops interrupting momentum. You begin carrying yourself differently. Your tone changes, your posture shifts. Your decisions become bolder, yet calmer. People often underestimate how much faith influences practical outcomes. Faith affects how you speak in meetings, how you negotiate, how you respond to opportunity, and how you recover from mistakes. Confidence multiplies the effectiveness of every action you take. Chosen one faith also aligns you with the right conditions. Psychologically, it tunes your attention. You notice what helps you. You recognize openings that once felt invisible. Spiritually, it positions you where opportunity can meet preparation. What others call luck is often faith directing attention and behavior toward the right moment. I have experienced this firsthand, doors opening, not because I chased them, but because I was finally aligned to walk through them without hesitation. Faith grows through action, not waiting. You do not need perfect belief to begin. You need enough faith to take the next step. Each step taken in alignment reinforces belief. Each small success strengthens confidence. The subconscious records these moments and builds identity from them. This is why progress often accelerates after the first few aligned actions. Momentum is not random. It is identity forming in real time. Anointed one, when faith is established, action changes its nature. Action no longer comes from fear or pressure. It flows from inner agreement. True action is not frantic. It is not desperate. It is deliberate. Every act becomes the outer expression of an inner decision already settled. I remember the difference clearly. Before, action felt heavy. After alignment, action felt natural. I stopped forcing myself to move and started moving because it made sense. This kind of action carries quiet authority. It is not rushed. It is not scattered. It does not come from the need to prove anything. It comes from the understanding that progress is already unfolding. Thought prepares the soil. Action plants the seed. But when action is taken without alignment, it becomes inefficient. It is movement without progress. Like building without a blueprint, effort increases, but results remain inconsistent. Chosen one, aligned action sharpens discernment. You begin doing the right things at the right time. You stop wasting energy on distractions. You become selective. Many people struggle financially not because they lack opportunity, but because their actions contradict their desires. They want abundance but act from fear. They want growth but avoid change. The subconscious follows action more closely than words. This is why alignment must be lived, not just imagined. When you act in harmony with the identity God is restoring within you, clarity grows as you walk. Confidence strengthens with each step. The subconscious responds by reinforcing the new identity. Every action becomes evidence, and evidence strengthens belief. Over time, tasks that once felt overwhelming become manageable. Challenges that once intimidated you lose their power. This shift does not happen because the world changed. It happens because resistance within you dissolved. Acting with faith means you do not wait for perfect conditions. You do not demand guarantees. You move even when fear whispers, because fear fades through motion, not avoidance. The subconscious grows stronger when you act, and with each aligned step, momentum builds. Wealth does not grow through bursts of intensity. It grows through consistency, through decisions that reflect who you are becoming, not who you used to be. Every day offers small openings to learn to refine, to elevate standards, to steward resources more wisely. These actions compound quietly. The world calls this luck, but luck is simply preparation meeting opportunity, and preparation begins long before opportunity arrives. The person who has built a wealthy mindset recognizes moments others overlook. They step forward while others hesitate. Their actions are informed by inner order, and the world responds accordingly. There comes a moment when something shifts deeply. You stop acting from hope and begin acting from knowing. You stop chasing outcomes and start cooperating with them. Effort becomes efficient. Progress becomes sustainable. Peace replaces pressure. This is where wealth stops feeling like something you pursue and begins feeling like something you are growing into. Chosen one. This is why your problem about money can be fixed. God is not asking you to strain harder. He is restoring alignment so that your faith, action, and identity move together. When thought, imagination, faith, and action work as one, results are inevitable. And what begins internally when sustained with consistency reshapes everything you touch. Chosen one. As faith matures and action becomes aligned, heaven begins shaping something deeper and more permanent within you. Habits are not dramatic. They do not announce themselves with emotion or urgency. Yet they are the silent architects of destiny. Every lasting transformation you admire in others was once invisible, formed quietly through repeated choices that felt small at the time. God understands this design, which is why lasting elevation never arrives without internal order being stabilized through habit. Anointed one. Many people think they fall to temptation or inconsistency because they lack discipline. In truth, they fall back because the subconscious is loyal to what feels familiar. I learned this when I tried to change everything at once, new routines, new standards, new expectations, only to feel myself pulled back into old patterns weeks later. It was not failure. It was the subconscious protecting what it believed was normal. Once I understood this, I stopped fighting myself and started working with the process God designed. Habits are the subconscious expressing what it has accepted as identity. You do not rise to the level of your intentions. You fall to the level of your habits. This is not discouraging. It is freeing. It means that wealth is not dependent on bursts of motivation or rare opportunities. It is built through daily behaviors that reinforce a new inner agreement. Small actions repeated consistently carry more power than dramatic efforts attempted inconsistently. Chosen one. Notice how God works in patterns throughout Scripture. Growth is gradual, strength is developed, increase is stewarded. Overnight success is rare because the soul must be prepared to carry what heaven releases. Habits are how that preparation happens. Waking with intention, managing resources with awareness, choosing learning over distraction, responding instead of reacting. These actions feel ordinary, but they compound. Like water shaping stone, they quietly redirect the course of your life. Every habit you reinforce strengthens an identity, and every identity you reinforce strengthens habits. When you habitually think like someone capable and resourceful, your behavior reflects that capability. When you habitually see yourself as someone who struggles, your actions unconsciously reinforce struggle. The subconscious seeks harmony between belief and behavior, even when that harmony keeps you small. This is why people often sabotage progress when it contradicts their self-image. Chosen one. Breaking this cycle does not require force. It requires deliberate habit creation. When you repeat an action long enough, the subconscious adopts it as normal. Once it becomes normal, it becomes automatic. You no longer rely on willpower. You simply act from who you have become. This is why consistency matters more than intensity. A few minutes of aligned thought each day reshapes the mind more effectively than hours of effort once a month. There was a season when I tried to overhaul my entire life at once. It never lasted. But when I began introducing small, repeatable practices, quiet reflection, disciplined focus, thoughtful decision-making, something shifted. Resistance softened, confidence grew, my sense of control expanded. These were signs that my identity was changing, and when identity changes, results soon follow. Anointed One, understand this clearly. There is no financial transformation without habit transformation. You can change your thoughts, strengthen imagination, cultivate faith, and take inspired action. But if daily habits contradict long-term direction, the subconscious will eventually revert to the old blueprint. The inner and outer worlds must match for results to remain. Wealth consciousness expressed through consistent habits becomes a force that no circumstance can easily disrupt. Habits also reveal where resistance still exists. When you introduce a new pattern, the old ones will attempt to reclaim authority. Not because something is wrong with you, but because familiarity feels safe to the subconscious. Even negative patterns can feel secure because they are predictable. When resistance appears, do not interpret it as failure. Interpret it as confirmation that change is occurring. Persistence, not perfection, is what rewrites loyalty. Chosen one as habits stabilize another force quietly enters your life. Gratitude. Gratitude is often misunderstood as politeness or forced positivity. In truth, gratitude is alignment. It harmonizes your inner state with abundance. When gratitude becomes habitual, the mind stops resisting what is good. Attention shifts from lack to supply. And wherever attention consistently rests, life begins to grow. Gratitude is not about pretending everything is perfect. It is about recognizing what is already working. I remember when I began acknowledging progress instead of focusing only on distance. That shift changed how I felt about my journey. Calm replaced frustration. Confidence replaced comparison. Gratitude did not make me complacent, it made me grounded, and from that grounded place my decisions improved. A grateful mind does not act from desperation, it acts from stability. It does not chase blindly, it discerns timing. Gratitude clarifies judgment by removing emotional noise. It also protects you from envy and entitlement. Two traps that quietly undermine wealth consciousness. When attention is consumed by what others have, creative power weakens. Gratitude redirects focus inward toward growth capacity and stewardship. Anointed One. Gratitude is a creative force. When you feel appreciative of what you have and who you are becoming, the subconscious interprets that emotion as evidence of abundance. And because the subconscious seeks consistency between inner feeling and outer experience, it guides you toward conditions that match that state. This is not magic. it is design. Anxiety produces contraction. Appreciation produces expansion. As gratitude deepens, resistance softens. Change feels safer. Growth feels deserved. Improvement feels natural. A grateful mind is receptive rather than defensive. It allows ideas to surface. It allows intuition to guide decisions. It creates openness for opportunity to appear without force. This is why gratitude often precedes breakthrough. It prepares the inner world to receive what heaven is releasing. Chosen one wealth is not only about money, it is about freedom, clarity, peace, and inner security. Money is one expression of wealth, but not the whole of it. Gratitude strengthens every dimension. People who practice gratitude consistently often notice a shift long before external results change. They feel stronger, more capable, more willing to follow through. And as this inner shift stabilizes, outer results inevitably follow. Opportunities begin appearing, income increases, limitations dissolve. Not because circumstances magically changed overnight, but because perception did. Gratitude is not passive. It does not ask you to accept less. It creates the emotional foundation that allows you to accept more without fear or guilt. It prepares your inner world for the abundance you are building through aligned thought, faith, action, and habit. Chosen one, as habits and gratitude work together, something powerful happens. Progress no longer feels forced. Momentum carries you even when motivation fades. Decisions become easier. Behavior becomes consistent. Wealth begins expressing itself as a natural extension of who you are becoming. This is the quiet power behind lasting success. And when inner order is established, heaven has space to move freely through your life. Chosen one. When all of these elements settle into harmony, thought, imagination, faith, action, habit, and gratitude, you begin to recognize a truth that changes how you move through life. Wealth is no longer something you chase or negotiate with. It becomes something you express naturally, the way light expresses itself when nothing blocks it. At this stage, the struggle you once felt around money begins to dissolve, not because effort disappeared, but because resistance did. There was a time when I believed wealth required constant pressure. If I wasn't pushing, striving, or worrying, I thought I was falling behind. That belief kept me tense, even when progress was happening. But when inner alignment took root, something shifted. I stopped forcing outcomes and started cooperating with process. I still worked, I still planned, I still took responsibility. But the fear-driven urgency was gone. In its place was clarity, and clarity multiplies effectiveness. Anointed one. This is what it means to understand wealth as a thought-based process. Not a fantasy, not an excuse for inaction, but a system rooted in cause and effect. Your mind initiates causes. Life expresses effects. When causes are aligned, effects follow without drama. This understanding returns authority to you, not the authority of control, but the authority of stewardship. You are no longer reacting to circumstances. You are shaping direction. At this point in the journey, many people realize something humbling. Their past did not limit them nearly as much as the patterns they carried forward unconsciously. God never judged you for where you started, what you lacked, or what you misunderstood. Heaven responds to alignment, not history. The moment you choose a new inner pattern, a new expectation, a new image, a new belief, your future begins reorganizing itself around that choice. Chosen one. This is why some people recover quickly from setbacks, while others remain stuck after brief success. Conditions follow consciousness. When consciousness remains wealthy, setbacks become temporary. When consciousness remains scarce, gains dissolve quickly. This is not punishment. It is consistency. Life reflects what is sustained internally. And once you see this, you stop fearing loss and start focusing on maintenance of inner order. A wealthy mindset is not loud or arrogant. It is calm. It is stable. It does not need constant reassurance. Money may come and go. Opportunities may shift. But the inner structure remains intact. This is the kind of wealth no external disruption can erase. It is portable. It moves with you. It restores itself after storms. And God values this kind of stability because it allows increase without destruction. Chosen one, as this awareness deepens, you begin moving differently. You stop rehearsing problems and start rehearsing solutions. You stop giving energy to fears that shrink your vision. You become selective with attention. Attention is one of the most valuable resources you possess because whatever you consistently attend to grows. When attention is disciplined, direction becomes clear. When direction is clear, action becomes efficient. You may notice that choices which once felt confusing now feel obvious. Situations that once overwhelmed you now feel manageable. What changed was not the world. It was your inner posture toward it. You are no longer approaching life as a victim of circumstances, but as a steward of causes. This shift gives you a quiet confidence that others can sense, even if they cannot explain it. Anointed one. This is also where peace enters the equation. True wealth does not sacrifice peace, it protects it. When your inner world is aligned, you do not burn out trying to maintain progress. You do not overextend yourself proving worth. You move with purpose, not panic. You grow without exhaustion. This is sustainable success, the kind that builds rather than consumes. You may still face challenges. Alignment does not remove opposition. It removes confusion. Challenges become feedback instead of threats. They refine strategy instead of derailing momentum. You learn quickly. You adjust calmly. You continue forward without losing yourself in the process. This is maturity, and maturity is what allows wealth to remain rather than leak away. Chosen one, remember this: money amplifies what already exists. If inner life is chaotic, money magnifies chaos. If inner life is ordered, money magnifies order. God does not withhold abundance out of cruelty. He protects you from amplification before alignment. Now that alignment is being restored, what once felt withheld begins to feel available. This is where gratitude completes the cycle. Gratitude keeps the inner world open. It prevents entitlement. It anchors progress in humility. A grateful heart recognizes that growth is happening even when it is gradual, and that recognition keeps momentum alive. Gratitude is not an ending, it is a stabilizer. It ensures that increase does not distort identity. As gratitude becomes natural, generosity follows not just with money, but with wisdom, patience, and presence. Generosity signals abundance to the subconscious. It reinforces the belief that supply is flowing. And because the subconscious seeks consistency, it guides you toward conditions that support continued flow. This is why giving from alignment never leads to lack. It deepens trust in the system God designed. Chosen one. You are no longer the same person who began this journey. Awareness has expanded. Responsibility has matured. Authority has returned to its rightful place. You are not waiting for wealth to validate you. You are becoming someone who can carry it with integrity, wisdom, and peace. This is the correction heaven promised. Your problem about money was never beyond repair. It was never permanent. It was never meant to define you. It was a signal pointing you inward toward alignment. And now that alignment is taking root, the outer world will continue responding in kind. Progress will feel steadier. Decisions will feel cleaner. Opportunities will feel less intimidating. Chosen one, hold this truth with confidence. When the inner world is ordered, the outer world cooperates. When thought is clear, imagination is directed, faith is steady, action is aligned, habit is consistent, and gratitude is alive, wealth becomes a natural expression of who you are becoming. And that kind of wealth does not arrive with chaos. It arrives with peace, clarity, and purpose, exactly as God intended. Chosen one, by now the veil has lifted and the pattern is clear. What heaven wanted you to see has been revealed, not to overwhelm you, but to empower you. This was never about chasing money. It was about restoring order within you so that what God releases can remain, multiply, and bring peace instead of pressure. The correction has begun and the shift is already in motion. Anointed one, hear this as a prophetic confirmation. You are standing in your kairos moment. This is your appointed time. What was delayed was not denied. What was withheld was being protected. Even now, heaven is rearranging circumstances, aligning people, and opening pathways that match the consciousness you are stepping into. The transfer does not begin in your hands. It begins in your alignment, and alignment has already taken root. Go forward, calm, not anxious, faithful, not rushed, grateful, not fearful. Stay aligned with what God has shown you and do not return to old patterns that no longer fit who you are becoming. Expect evidence, expect clarity, expect steady increase, not by force, but by design. If this word has borne witness in your spirit, you may gently affirm it by subscribing and by sharing where you are watching from in the comments as a quiet testimony of alignment. Chosen one, remain faithful, stay centered, and look ahead with gratitude. What heaven has begun, it will complete.